Transportation for It's Your Call guests provided by Preferred Car and Limousine.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lynn Doyle, and this is It's Your Call. My special guest is Governor Ed Rendell. As you know, he is the governor of Pennsylvania and has been involved in Democratic politics for a lifetime. He was the former DNC chairman, and so we're asking him, as we approach the 100-day mark of President Obama's administration, his perspective on it. If you'd like to tell us what you think, there is an email address there at the end. You can write us a note, tell us what you think or what your concerns or what you think the president is doing well. We also took our cameras out into the region and gave you some of the opportunity to ask the kinds of questions that you would want answers from Governor Rendell. So if he's game, we're game. Let's take our first curbside question.
Hi, Governor Rendell. How do you think Obama's presidency is going so far?
Well, we basically answered that question at the top of the show, but let me say one other thing. I think that the media, and I don't mean Lynn, of course, but I think the media and to some degree the public's obsessed with how did he do in the first 100 days. That's not the important question, because often the policies, for example, the great thing about President Obama is even in the stimulus, he looked beyond the first 100 days or the first 6 months of the first year. For example, his plan to build out the electrical grid in this country. That's going to take close to a decade. But we ought to have been doing that 20 years ago. But he's the first president with a vision to make it part of his policy. So I think the question of how's he doing probably won't get a real clear answer until maybe this time next year or the summer of next year. Look at Reagan and Clinton, two presidents who left extremely popular with the people. They both got off to rocky starts.
You know, it's interesting because this country is obsessed with instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And we want success immediately.
Absolutely.
Really, in the scheme of things, if either one of us started a new job, 100 days is really not that long.
No,
it's simply 3 months. It's a probationary period.
Absolutely. And as I say to people, I was a better mayor in my 7th year than I was in my first year. Even though the first year there were many successes, but I knew more. I learned from mistakes. I learned because I learned stuff about the municipal government that I didn't know in the first year. So President Obama is going to be a better president this time next year. He's had the misfortune, because of the crisis, he's had to act quickly and make decisions that are long run. And I think we'll see that those decisions were well made.
What do you think about the fact that he's made himself so accessible, not only to the media, but to the American public? Do you think that our president should be on The Tonight Show talking with Jay Leno? Should he be photographed at a basketball game drinking a beer?
Absolutely.
Should he be saying to 60 Minutes, hey, listen, with somewhat of a cavalier attitude, some think, if you'd told me that the Iraq War was going to be way down on my list a year ago, I would have said you were crazy. I mean, is that good for his administration, or is it somewhat hurtful?
I actually think it's good. I think people are smarter than we all give them credit for, number one. And they have a real hunch that presidents and vice presidents and governors and mayors are people too. They have a hunch that the president or the mayor or the governor might drink a glass of beer. And what they're seeing with President Obama is someone who's very comfortable in his own skin. And that's important, because if you're going to be a good leader, you have to be yourself. Young people always ask me all the time, Lynn, well, what should I do? What style should I adopt? I'd say, you adopt a style that you're comfortable with. Don't emulate this guy or that guy. You have to be Tom Smith or Bill Jones or Mary Patrick. You've got to develop your own style. So the American people like the fact that he's one of us. I mean, I'll tell you, when I fly coach, and I fly coach almost all the time, the only time I will fly anything other than coach is if, because of my frequent flyer miles, I've legitimately earned a bump up. I'll never fly first class on the taxpayer's dime, but I don't do it on my own dime. When I fly coach, I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, it's so great to see you back here with us. Back here with us. People like that. They want their politicians to be just like them, except smarter.
At least you're not taking the corporate jet.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to return to our viewers' questions.
And I just have to interject one thing. I love President Obama's comment when he was asked a helicopter question about whether he was going to get a new helicopter, and he said, Probably not. He said, this helicopter seems perfectly fine to me. He said, but I've never had a helicopter before.
Really? And isn't it like a $55 million helicopter?
Right.
It seems like it'll get him through.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of getting through, we want to get through a few more questions from Facebook. We asked our Facebook friends what they would ask the governor, and we said, hey, we're opening it up. You can ask anything you want. So Steve has written, and he wants to know, why isn't he running against Specter for the Senate seat, given that he's a term-limited governor? Why did he say he would go full throttle against Specter if he decided to stay on as a Republican? Has something changed in the relationship? Is there any hope that Specter will flip to the Democrats?
No, I don't think so.
Lots of questions there.
Well, number one...
Well, let's start with, why didn't you run against him?
Well, first of all, I've always been an executive in government. I actually was elected district attorney at the age of 32, and for the last 30-plus years, I've been an executive. I don't think I'd be happy in the legislature. It's too slow. You don't have the decision-making power, and being a freshman senator, you have to work your way up the list, and I'm not young enough to work my way up the list. That's number one. But number two, Arlen Specter gave me my first job. I was a young assistant DA, and he hired me, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody to give me a boost. He hired me because he thought I had some energy and ability, and he never asked whether I was a Democrat or a Republican. He's friends with my family. He knows my son, all these things. And I believe friendship has its role in life, and I couldn't run against him because he was my boss, he was my mentor, and he was my friend. Now, if a good Democrat runs, I'll support the good Democrat. And Arlen knows that. And when Lynn Swan ran against me, Arlen supported Lynn Swan. And we understand that. But I could never do it myself.
Any chance he's going to flip over to the
Democratic side? No, I've tried,
side? And
Vice President Biden has tried. But Arlen is a guy who believes in certain things strongly. And he believes there has to be a place for moderates in the Republican Party. He believes if all the Republican moderates vanish, it's bad for the country, and so do I.
All right, we don't have much time left, but I have to ask this question as we were talking about things from a national perspective. Hillary Clinton, you were a big-time supporter of her. You were on this program before the Pennsylvania primary. Of course, when the nomination went to Barack Obama, you put your support behind him. How do you think she's doing as Secretary of State?
At first, give President Obama tremendous credit for being strong enough, again, comfortable enough in his own skin to appoint a strong, internationally known personality like Hillary. And I think she's doing great. Everywhere she goes in the world, the reception she's getting is terrific. She's also meshed very well with President Obama and with Michelle Obama. I think she's one of his very, very best appointments, and we can all be proud of Hillary.
Does that surprise you that they were so vehemently opposed on the campaign trail, and now she's part of his team, and they have seemed to really gel very well?
Well, people forget, when Barack came into the Senate, he and Hillary were very close friends. Look, combat does that. When you're opposed to someone else, you're going to do that. But I'm proud to say I've run for office 14 times, Lynn, 14 times. And I have never had a long-running grudge against any of my opponents. In fact, Mike Fisher ran against me the first time for judge. I testified for him in front of the Senate about his qualifications to be a Third Circuit Court of Appeals judge.
See, that old saying that politics makes strange bedfellows, none more so than there. All right.
We should end on that note.
I think we will. Governor Ed Rendell, great to have you back here on the It's Your Call. Good to see you. All right. If you have questions or comments, email me at tcn_IYC@cable.comcast.com. We'll see you the next time here on the Comcast Network.